All right, everyone, here we are with another video with Invest for Tomorrow. And to all the first-time viewers and investors, welcome to the channel. And to all the subscribers, welcome back. All I ask for in return is for you to smash that like button to let me know you watch this video and to stay tuned on in for everything, because if you've made it this far, the first few seconds of the video, you definitely want to stay tuned for everything we're going to cover, because I'm going to discuss about when I actually went ahead and announced the most recent slight crash correction, however you want to refer to it, because some people were saying we're in the middle of a crash, and I was saying we're just in a correction, and others were saying, yeah, I see the correction. Others are like, what are you guys talking about? This is a crash. No, this was a correction, okay? This was certainly a correction. It actually was a healthy one that allowed the stock market to continue to push up to newer highs, and I'm about to share with you guys when I basically went ahead and timed it. No one can time the market, but something you can do is prepare for it, okay? I've been in the market for several years now, actively trading since 2018, and I've been watching and learning about the market since 2015, okay? So I spent the first year right when I got into trading. That was already like 3 years and a half of my time of learning and growing as an investor. And then within that same year, I was learning. And then after that, I started to continue doing heavier and bigger trades, which are a little bit more like the ones I talk about over at the Patreon and the Discord, because I talk about daily opportunities that are different ones that have so much different potential. I mean, there's some that I mentioned them, for example. I mean, I could just pull one up that I went ahead and mentioned earlier this week, and it was VTVT. I believe I talked about it. Actually, it was back around this time when we had a pop. Let's put here the 1 minute, and it's gonna take me back to that date. But we talked about this one with big opportunity. It was right here at this point. I went ahead and talked about this one when it was sitting close to $3 and some change. I stated this needed to pull back down to 290, and I talked about this one April 13th. This was actually one of the best plays this week, and there's many more. I mean, I talk about 2 to 3 different ticker symbols with potential, and some are hits and some are miss, but more of the times they're home runs than anything, right? So I talked about it. It was supposed to pull back. It hit around 287 and ran back up to $3 and some change. It doesn't show it fully here, but it spiked a little bit, giving us 8% return. Now, it started to continue dipping, and it hit a low here of 276. And from that point forward, it ran. I mean, that was explosive. Now, it ran all day, but that was explosive here when it reached the 350 mark. And then if you hold it throughout the whole day, I mean, this opportunity went up to 377 from that point, a whole entire dollar, 30% plus. So these are the type of opportunities we look for on a day-to-day basis. So if that's something that interests you, you can join me and the other Patreon members and Discord members. The links are down below. We look forward to have you join us. A big group of investors, already 90 plus, that are smart, intelligent, and all learning and growing and sharpening their skills to maximize profits and minimize losses. That's what we're all about. We're all about making money and minimizing losses. That's the most important thing. So in the turbulence of everything and everything going on, I want to talk about the S&P 500. And this is not typically my favorite type of video, but it is the type of video that I like to do to make investors aware, like I did here. So all I ask for is for you to bear with me just 1 minute to go ahead, hear me out on everything I'm about to share with you guys on a short clip of another short clip. So basically, this is a video of 2 other videos. So a video within another video within this video. I know it sounds like a lot, but just bear with me, and right after that, we're going to talk about the present day, where we're at, and what we need to watch for. Stay tuned. Anyone that has stayed to this point in the video, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a short clip of a video that I talked about several times, and I wanted every single investor and viewer to not miss out on it. And I know that sometimes you guys look at my videos and you're like, oh my gosh, 10 minutes, 14 minutes, you know, and it's really because I put in the effort and time. I know some people say I talk a lot, but I really need you guys to understand. And not only that, but some of you guys might understand everything, but there's a lot of investors and viewers that are completely unaware. to what's going on. So I like to break everything down as simplified as possible, and it sometimes takes time as I'm speaking right now. So all I'm asking for is a minute of your time. The next minute is going to show the date of that video, where we were at, what I drew out, and even though the drawing is not exactly the same, it's going in the same direction, and these are the circles I want you to remember when I talk about the peaks and how the stock market was going to continue to reflect. I also talk about different topics there, which we're going to touch base after the video. So stay tuned and hang on tight. And thank you guys so much for your patience. I hope you guys are learning and that you guys are receiving information and insight that gives you some better understanding of the market. Stay tuned. 39.50, and it's been going down since. So one thing I want us to pay close attention to is if the market continues to build this behavior. This is the behavior that I'm seeing, right? If it continues this, and we're hitting newer lows, and it continues to hit these peaks, right? Then the market is struggling to hold itself up because the repurchase agreements of these dates do not exist right now. And a lot of people don't realize how much of an impact the Federal Reserve's decisions has on the overall market. Like, the only reason why the market's been pushing up higher, it's all the forward outlook and hope, but it's these dates. These dates hold up the market from going any lower or from staying stagnant. It keeps on pushing it. It keeps on creating anticipation, excitement, the speculation and the hope of seeing ticker symbols going up. So I didn't really want to make this video, and I didn't want to have to, but I need to make every single investor and viewer aware that we might be in the middle of a crash or correction already getting started. Alright, so as we saw in that video, obviously the drawing didn't turn out exactly the same, but you wanted to remember those peaks, which is what I talked about here. And from that point forward, we didn't know the bottom, but the bottom seemed to be pretty soon, and we've been running since. And I have everything pulled up here, my different indicators and so forth, and we've been running. Now, here on the 30-minute, it seems like we want to dip already, but we're still holding up pretty well here on the MACD, where this can actually pull up and continue running, especially when we look at the 1 day, right? In the 1 day, we're going to have here the 41.85, whereas where we're having it, and it could have a potential to hit 4,300 by the looks of the history of the chart. The last time that we were in this much of overbought section, right, is way back here in September. Now, when the time of a pullback came, we went down from 3,500 to 3,200. So that's what I'm anticipating, like a 300-point drop. Okay, that's like the good scenario of the pullback, right? From 4,200, 4,300, whatever happens, or from right where we're at right now. Now, beyond that, I believe that we have an opportunity to see this probably fall. If it breaks through the $300 mark of a pullback, 300 points, this could reach, 37 and even downwards to 35, worst case scenario, which would actually make this go down almost 700 points. And if it's 37, it would be around 500 to 600 points. So we need to see what's going on. But the last time we were this much in overbought section was way back in September, and we're bound to hit a top and pull back. Now, what would be really, really interesting is for this to actually have a point where instead of having a major pullback like that actually creates a correction or a mini flash crash, that we actually go up, pull back, and then bounce back up, come back, and pull back up like newer highs, something wild like that. Like we can actually see here happening, right? Like came back down, up, down, and then upwards, and playing around with investors' minds. That would be really confusing, which would actually in turn bring this back up, go like that, and then go like that, which would actually end up in a break-even situation, even though it pulled back, but just looking confusing to the point that when is the real pullback coming, and when it does, it will actually take this down right to like 500 points, 300 points, 400 points. Worst case scenario. And this is just hypothetically speaking, and turns out like that. But I believe that we are getting closer and closer to the peak, And this could hit 4,200 to 4,300 if it continues running upwards. But the time for this to actually come back down is on its way, and it's something we need to watch for. Now, we haven't had a pullback that has given me any significant type of message, right? Like we saw in the previous video when I went ahead and talked about this pullback here. We already had a few days that had shown us some type of indication that we were in the midst of the beginning of a correction or already in it, right? Like I said, because we already had these two here that actually gave us some insight, right? Right here. We don't have any of that yet. And then also all the indicators. Yeah, we don't have that yet here. We've just been running real clean in an upward direction. We are bound to head downwards. Now, something that I believe is going to be interesting is how is it going to react on the way down? Is it going to be a really slow downward direction or fast? Because one of the things that can make it pull down fast is either the dates that the Federal Reserve speaks or big spikes on the 10-year Treasury. Now, the 10-year Treasury, when you put the 1 month, has been in a downward direction, right? And when you put the 1 day, it's just kind of sitting there trying to pull upwards a little bit. And when you put the 5 day, we hit a low here of 1.53. We jumped, we sat sideways, and we're jumping again. If this continues to jump significantly back up to 1.6 and some change, 1.65, closer to 1.7, that is going to shock the market. So it could make next week pretty turbulent and also very interesting if this upward trend continues in a very spiking movement. But if we continue downwards, this will have no direct correlation of affecting right now the S&P 500, allowing it to continue going upwards. But the biggest thing that's going to make the pullback happen is not just the 10-year Treasury, but it's the inflation that is coming, which the Federal Reserve has talked about it. They said they're going to do nothing about it. They're going to let it ride unless they need to taper it down or, rise interest rates earlier than expected or temporarily. But they're really wanting to allow inflation to just go up and do its thing. And that will shock the market as well. So be prepared for some type of correction or crash. Now, if it happens as fast as it happened here, which would only last about a month and a half or for a few weeks or a whole month, then that's not too bad because we know that we're going to hit a bottom at some point. We're bound to hit it and we'll rebound like we saw here. Now, we don't know the bottom, but we'll be paying close attention for it or some signs that we're getting out of it. Now, if it's actually really slow, right, and it's just a really, really slow movement and these tick by ticks, it takes forever for this to come back down here. Then it pulls back up, then it pulls back down. So then it kind of brings us back up and then it pulls us back down. It pulls us back up and pulls us back down in a very slow manner. Then this could last for more than a month, 2 months, 3 months. We can go into a correction or crash per se for the next 3 to 6 months. And if it's moving really slow. So that means that growth stocks and innovative stocks, if they've already been hit, they're bound to get hit even harder. Now, I wouldn't tell you to avoid the stock market when it's getting like this. You need to pay close attention when it's an overreaction of fear or fundamentals of the company bringing it down. And that's where you're going to be able to become a winner once we get past this turbulent season, right? Because it's coming. It's coming. Just like I stated it here, we had some indicators and indications already. We have nothing yet, but I'm anticipating it, right? Unless inflation is overlooked or already got priced in when we did this pullback, then the stock market's just going to run like crazy. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's some shocking to the market to come. It hasn't been shocked yet. This is usually one of the best months for the S&P overall year over year because of the companies that are in it, the earnings and so forth in April. But as we get closer to the end of April or even closer to May, we are going to start seeing signs that we're going into the direction of a correction or crash. And it could last, like I said, 3 months to 6 months from now. But this is where, as an investor, you need to become equipped and not be looking for penny stocks or any hype stocks, but real stocks with real value so you can buy them at stealing prices. But you need to know where you're putting your money and what is it that you're looking for. So that's my best approach for any investor, right? And even myself, I'm talking to myself right now to remind myself that's what we need to do as investors. So if that is something that interests you and you want to know what stocks I'm watching for big opportunities in the long run, as well as daily opportunities, you can join me and the other members at the Patreon. The link is down below. Don't forget to check it out. The tiers are filling up pretty quickly. And guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Just beware. Watch this carefully. We could possibly continue to run closer to 4,200 or between 4,200 to 4,300. But we are bound to turn around. And we don't know just yet how fast the turnaround is going to be. Is it going to be a month, just a few weeks, 2 months, or is it going to be really slow and painful for those that are just watching their stocks go lower and lower and lower for the next 3 months to 6 months? But it's going to be the opportunities for the prepared. So if you want to join us over at the Patreon and the Discord, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be prepared, and you guys should be prepared as well. For those of you that want to join, we look forward to have you join us. And as always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's make some money.